when I'm labeling and scaling the axis, what I'm thinking about is where am I going to start on this axis? So what's the y-intercept? And then how am I moving? So for example, in this problem, my y-intercept is 1,000, and I'm going down. So that means when I scale my axis, I want the 1,000 to be somewhere near the top because my slope is going to be headed downwards. So the next thing I'm going to think about, though, is how am I counting for my slope? So here I'm going down 40. So I'm going to try to label my increments by either 40 or some number that would work well with 40, like counting by 20s or 10s or even 80s. Something so I'm not guessing so much where I'm graphing. And that's if we can. If it doesn't work out that way and we have to count by 50s, we'll make do. I tried a few things, and it looks like 80 is going to be my best bet. So starting at 0, we can go up 80, keep going up 80, up 80, up 80. And eventually, we get up to 960. And so 1,000 is somewhere in between the 960 and the next number. Okay, and so that's near the top of the graph. It's not too low. And now we can count our 40s and over 1. Okay, so let me talk about the over 1. Since it's 40 over 1, I'm just going to label, or I'm going to count by 1s on the x-axis. Because now it's down 40. And note that 1 increment is 80. So to go down 40 means I'm going down half a space and then over 1, down half a space over 1. That's down 40 over 1, down 40 over 1, down 40 over 1, down 40 over 1. Which if you look at the pattern, that's the same as down 1 over 2 dots, down 1 over 2. And this fills up a good amount of space on the graph. So that scale is a pretty good scale, counting by 80s, counting by 1s. And with the smartboard here, it's hard for me to fill in all these numbers and make it look neat. But we could keep labeling all these numbers all the way up. And if you look at the answer key online, I do have all those numbers labeled. Okay, now to label the axis, the x-axis is going to be number of weeks. And the y-axis is the money owed, or the money we still owe. Money still owed. Okay, so then 101 is find the y-intercept. So the y-intercept we know is that 1,000. And what that 1,000 means, so 101, that $1,000 in the context, that's how much he borrowed. Because that's the very beginning. He borrowed that much money. So that's the money Tom borrowed. Then 102, find the x-intercept. So looking at the graph, because of the way that it's scaled, we can't see exactly what number we land at. So this is where we can use the algebra. The x-intercept means we're going to plug 0 in for y, and then we can solve for the x. Sorry. So if we solve this equation, we would get that x equals 25. Okay, and in the context, that means it took 25 weeks to pay off all his debt. 25 weeks to pay off all the money. Because at that point, the y value is 0. So he still owes $0, or he now owes $0. And now 103, what is the slope? And explain it in context. So keeping in mind that slope is your rise over run, or your y value change over your x value change. If you're not sure on how to interpret it, keep thinking about the units of the y and the x. So the slope is that negative 40, and that means it's negative 40 of the y units, or dollars, per the x unit, which is weeks. So the slope is negative 40, and that means it means we have to pay $40 less per week. All right, so every week we're $40 less in debt. Or you could say something like, he pays back $40 per week. That's a pretty nice way of saying it. But again, there are multiple ways you could say this in the context. I'm going to say Tom pays back $40 per week.